Amara Johnson had never been to Seoul before. The city pulsed with life, towering glass buildings, neon signs and unfamiliar characters, and the steady hum of scooters weaving through traffic. She clutched her portfolio tightly, her heart thumping in rhythm with the city's chaos. This was it, the moment she had worked toward for years. An interview at one of the most prestigious tech companies in South Korea. Every detail mattered, from the crisp suit she had flown across continents to wear, to the careful way she had styled her hair the night before. Her sense of direction, however, had betrayed her. The sleek, mirrored office buildings all looked the same, and in her nervousness she had wandered into the wrong entrance. The hallway she entered was silent, sterile, and far emptier than she expected. She assumed it was HR. The company website had mentioned a lobby, and this was the first office she had found. A door at the end of the hall stood slightly ajar, and through it she could see a man working at a desk. His back was to her, but his posture was so commanding she instinctively straightened her own shoulders. "Excuse me, am I in the right place for?" her voice faltered. Before she could finish, the man turned. Jinwoo Park's gaze was sharp, and for a moment she felt as if he could see right through her. His expression softened just slightly when he noticed her hesitation. "Yes, but you shouldn't be here," he said, his English precise with just a hint of accent. The door clicked behind her. Amara's eyes widened. She had meant to push it open, not close it. "Oh, she began, stepping back. Jinwoo raised a hand. "Don't worry. It's safer this way for a moment." His tone was calm but firm, and something about it made her chest tighten. Not fear exactly, but a strange mix of curiosity and anticipation. For a beat, the two of them just looked at each other. Amara noticed the faint crease at the corner of his eyes when he gave the tiniest of smiles, almost imperceptible. It reminded her of someone trying to hide laughter behind seriousness. "I'm Amara," she said finally, holding out her hand, hoping it would feel normal in this surreal moment. "Jinwoo," he replied, standing. He extended a hand that was solid, steady, and unexpectedly warm. "Let me make sure you're settled first." And before she knew it, he guided her toward a chair near the window. A soft, reassuring hug followed, not lingering, not intimate, but enough to make Amara's nerves settle slightly. She realized in that moment that this interview was going to be nothing like she had expected. Amara's first day in the office proper was a whirlwind of introductions, orientation forms, and polite smiles that carried more curiosity than warmth. The building itself was a modern marvel, glass walls reflecting sunlight, sleek corridors, and a quiet hum of efficiency. Every employee she passed seemed to move with purpose, but none drew her attention quite like Jinwoo. He was everywhere without being there, checking schedules, signing documents, walking through the hall with that same steady, commanding presence she had noticed the first day. Amara found herself stealing glances, trying not to seem obvious. His demeanor was professional, almost cold at first glance, but something beneath it suggested a layer of thoughtfulness. Later, during a brief break in the cafeteria, she found herself sitting at a small table, fumbling with her coffee cup. That's when he appeared beside her, startling her slightly. "You're here early," Jinwoo remarked, his tone neutral but not unkind. She looked up, forcing a smile. "I like to prepare, nerves and all that." He studied her for a moment, head slightly tilted. "I can see that. You seem organized," he said, eyes scanning her notes with quiet approval. "Most people don't bring this level of preparation." Amara felt her cheeks warm. Compliments from Jinwoo were rare, she suspected, and she didn't want to overthink it. "Thank you. I just want to do well." "And you will," he replied simply, his gaze lingering just long enough for her to sense sincerity. "Confidence isn't just in words, it's in the way you hold yourself. You have that." The conversation drifted naturally from work to lighter topics. They exchanged observations about Seoul, comparing it to the city she had lived in, laughing softly at cultural quirks. Amara discovered that beneath Jinwoo's composed exterior was a man who noticed small details. How she stirred her coffee, the way she laughed at a joke she had heard only in passing, the precise way she organized her notes. A soft rain began to patter against the cafeteria windows, and Jinwoo handed her a napkin, his fingers brushing hers briefly. "Seoul weather is unpredictable," he remarked. The gesture, simple as it was, felt oddly intimate, a shared moment amidst the buzz of the office. For the first time, Amara understood why people were drawn to him. It wasn't just his reputation or his looks or even his position. It was the quiet awareness he carried, the way he could notice someone without making them feel exposed. And for reasons she couldn't yet articulate, she wanted him to notice her even more. After her first week, Amara was still adjusting to the rhythm of the office. Meetings came fast, deadlines loomed, and the language barrier occasionally left her scrambling. Yet, amidst the organized chaos, she kept noticing Jinwoo, always composed, always a step ahead, yet somehow aware of her presence. One afternoon, as the sky outside turned a soft gray and drizzle began, he appeared at her desk. "Coffee break?" he asked casually, though the weight behind his words made her heart skip. She blinked, surprised. Sure," she said, gathering her notebook and wallet, not fully trusting her own voice. They walked in silence to the nearby cafe, a short distance from the office. The streets glistened with rain, and the aroma of baked goods mingled with the fresh scent of wet pavement. Amara realized she had never noticed the city like this. Every honk and murmur, every shop sign, seemed amplified when she was beside him. Inside, they found a quiet corner, the hum of conversation forming a gentle backdrop. Jinwoo ordered for both of them, his voice calm, precise, yet strangely comforting. As he handed her a warm cup of coffee, their fingers brushed. The contact was brief, almost incidental, but it sent a flutter through Amara's chest. "I wanted to check on you," Jinwoo said finally as they settled into their seats. "Adjusting to a new environment, a new culture, it's not easy." His gaze met hers, steady and sincere. "How are you feeling?" Amara hesitated, then sighed. "Honestly? Overwhelmed. I expected challenges, but I didn't expect to feel so alone at times." She watched his expression soften. "I mean, everyone's been kind, but it's different when you don't know anyone personally." Jinwoo nodded thoughtfully. "I understand. Moving somewhere new changes everything. But you're handling it well. I've noticed your dedication. It doesn't go unnoticed." For a long moment, neither spoke. Outside, rain streaked the windows, painting the street in silver. Amara felt a rare ease around him, as if the city and the office faded and it was just the two of them. Then, without a word, Jinwoo leaned slightly and offered a gentle hug. Not intimate, not lingering, just enough to reassure her, to tell her silently, "You're not alone here." Amara let herself relax into the warmth of it, heart racing, comforted in a way she hadn't expected. When they pulled apart, the moment hung between them, a quiet acknowledgement of trust, of connection. As they walked back to the office, coffee in hand, Amara felt something shift inside her. She realized that this was more than a professional relationship beginning, it was the start of something she hadn't planned for but already didn't want to ignore. Amara's second month at the company was proving more challenging than she had anticipated. Deadlines loomed larger, meetings dragged longer, and office politics whispered in corners. Despite her preparation and diligence, she occasionally felt the weight of being the new foreign employee, the outsider trying to find her footing. Jinwoo, as always, moved through the office with that effortless authority. He was calm in every meeting, precise in every decision. Yet, Amara noticed something different now. He watched her. Not in a scrutinizing way, but with quiet attentiveness, as if he could sense when she struggled before anyone else did. During a particularly grueling project meeting, Amara stumbled while presenting a solution to a client. Her voice wavered and she felt a heat rise to her cheeks. Murmurs rippled across the room. Just as panic threatened to take over, Jinwoo spoke. Her approach is sound. "Let me explain further," he said smoothly, walking her words through the strategy, making her solution shine. The room quieted, attention fixed on him as he subtly shielded her from judgment. After the meeting, Amara felt her legs wobble slightly. Jinwoo approached her desk. "You handled that well," he said, his tone gentle but firm. "The first instinct is often the loudest, don't let it overpower your confidence." She looked up, caught between relief and gratitude. "Thank you. I wasn't sure I could recover from that." "You did," he replied, his eyes lingering just enough for her to feel it without words. "And you'll do it again." The day passed in a blur of reports, phone calls, and lingering glances. At one point, Amara noticed colleagues exchanging quiet whispers, glancing toward her and Jinwoo. Rumors were beginning to circulate, about the foreign girl and the company's top executive. Amara tried to ignore it, but Jinwoo, as if reading her thoughts, gave her a small, almost imperceptible smile. No words were needed. His steady presence reassured her. Later, during a break, she watched him through the glass partitions of his office. He was engrossed in work, yet somehow aware of her gaze. The intensity of his focus made her pulse quicken. Not fear, not anxiety, but a magnetic pull she didn't fully understand. By the end of the day, Amara realized something had shifted. The office wasn't just a place of work anymore, It was a space where she and Jinwoo quietly navigated connection, trust, and unspoken understanding. And though the whispers lingered, she found herself looking forward to the next encounter, the next moment of guidance, the next glance that made her heart beat a little faster. The announcement came midweek, a company team-building event at a nearby park. Amara felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. Team-building exercises were new to her, and she wasn't sure how to navigate them with colleagues who had known each other for years. Yet, part of her was curious about Jinwoo outside the office, a side of him that wasn't just polished professionalism. The day was crisp, sunlight breaking through scattered clouds. Teams were formed for a series of challenges: relay races, puzzles, and a scavenger hunt. Amara found herself paired with Jinwoo. The pairing, she realized immediately, made her pulse quicken. "Let's focus," Jinwoo said quietly, a small, almost teasing edge in his voice. "We can win this if we pay attention." Amara nodded, trying to hide her excitement. As they worked together, she noticed the little details about him. The way he assessed each task, calmly organizing her ideas with his own, offering suggestions without ever seeming overbearing. She found herself laughing more than she had in weeks, and Jinwoo's rare smiles made her heart leap. During a particularly tricky challenge, they stumbled over a puzzle piece arrangement. Frustration crept in and Amara sighed, rubbing her temples. Jinwoo leaned over, his shoulder brushing hers, and whispered, "Take a breath. We're a team. We'll figure it out." Relief washed over her, and in the moment she felt an unexpected warmth. When they finally solved the puzzle, the entire team cheered. Jinwoo caught her eye, and without thinking, Amara found herself wrapped in a celebratory hug, light, quick, but charged with a shared exhilaration. He held her for just a beat longer than necessary, and the world seemed to pause around them. "Nice work," he said softly as they pulled apart, his eyes lingering on hers with an intensity she couldn't quite read. Throughout the day their synergy only strengthened. They ran side by side, solved challenges together, and laughed at each other's small mistakes. By the end, Amara realized that the barrier she had felt in the office, the professional distance, was beginning to blur. On the bus ride back, tired but exhilarated, she caught glimpses of Jinwoo in conversation with colleagues. Yet when he noticed her looking, he offered a small, knowing smile. That smile, gentle and reassuring, made her feel seen in a way that went beyond work. She had started to understand that the connection they were forming wasn't fleeting, it was something rare, something she hadn't expected to find amidst deadlines and office lights. Amara returned to the office the following week with a lingering sense of warmth from the team outing. The laughter, the shared victories, and the celebratory hug with Jinwoo played on repeat in her mind. Yet, the day's rhythm quickly reminded her that work demanded focus, and the office was not a playground. That afternoon she stayed late to finalize a project report. Papers scattered across her desk, her laptop screen glowing under the dim office lights. She barely noticed when a colleague, a friendly yet overly talkative man named Sungmin, appeared to offer assistance. "Need some help with that?" he asked casually, hovering near her chair. Before she could respond, Jinwoo's sharp gaze appeared at the doorway. His posture stiffened slightly, and though he said nothing at first, Amara felt the subtle shift in energy. Sungmin laughed, not noticing the tension, and Amara's cheeks warmed. "I've got it really," she said quickly, glancing at Jinwoo. Later, during the elevator ride down, she caught glimpses of whispered conversations and glances between co-workers. Rumors, she realized, were already forming. By the time she reached the lobby, the air felt charged. Jinwoo appeared beside her, quiet and composed. "Amara," he said softly, "about earlier," his words trailed off, his eyes searching hers for understanding. I didn't mean anything by it," she hurried to explain. "Sungmin just offered to help, that's all." He nodded slowly, a faint crease between his brows. "I understand. It's just, sometimes I notice things." There was no accusation, only a quiet weight in his tone. Amara felt a pang of guilt for unintentionally stirring tension, but also a strange thrill at the intensity of his attention. For the rest of the week, small gestures from Jinwoo, checking her progress on reports, offering quiet reassurances, standing just a step behind her during meetings, made her heart beat faster. The unspoken connection between them deepened, but so did the tension. Rumors whispered through the office like soft winds, and yet, somehow, they didn't matter as much as the moments when he lingered just a little longer than necessary, or when his hand brushed hers by accident while passing documents. By Friday, Amara realized that the misunderstanding had created a strange intimacy. They were learning to navigate not only office politics but the delicate terrain of their own growing feelings. And beneath the quiet tension, a bond was forming, subtle, unspoken, and undeniably electric. Spring had arrived in Seoul, painting the streets in soft pinks and whites. Cherry blossoms lined the avenues, their petals drifting like gentle snow. Jinwoo had suggested they attend the festival together, an invitation that surprised Amara. Not colleagues, not co-workers, just the two of them away from office walls and deadlines. The festival was alive with laughter, music, and the scent of street food. Amara marveled at the delicate blossoms, their beauty almost surreal against the bright city backdrop. Jinwoo walked beside her, silent at first, letting her take in the scene. She noticed how he seemed slightly softer outside the office, the edges of his seriousness eased by the gentle spring breeze. "Have you ever seen cherry blossoms like this?" he asked quietly, his voice carrying just above the chatter around them. "Not like this," she admitted, watching a petal land on her notebook. "They're magical. Fragile but somehow persistent." Jinwoo's eyes followed hers, lingering on the flower before returning to her face. "Yes," he said softly. "They remind me that even fleeting moments can leave a lasting impression, if you notice them." Amara felt a warmth spreading through her chest. There was a poetry in his words, a vulnerability she rarely saw. The city's bustle seemed to fade, leaving only the two of them beneath the canopy of blossoms. They wandered along the path, sharing stories about childhood dreams, family traditions, and little secrets they hadn't told anyone else. Amara laughed at his dry humor, and he chuckled at her animated expressions. Somewhere between the petals and soft sunlight, the tension of office life, rumors, and misunderstandings melted into something quieter, softer. When they reached a small bridge overlooking a pond, Jinwoo stopped and turned to her. "Amara, I think I've been feeling something for you for a while," he admitted, his voice low but steady. Her heart skipped. Words caught in her throat. I feel the same," she whispered, barely audible, her hands trembling slightly. Without another word, Jinwoo stepped closer and embraced her gently. Not a kiss, not a statement of ownership, just a long, heartfelt hug that spoke volumes. Her arms wrapped around him instinctively, holding on to the comfort, the reassurance, and the quiet joy of finally being understood. When they pulled back, both smiled softly, the unspoken promise lingering in the air. For the first time, Amara realized that this connection, careful, slow, and genuine, might be something lasting. Beneath the cherry blossoms, with petals drifting around them, they didn't need words to know. Something beautiful was beginning. Back in the office, the hum of deadlines and phone calls returned to their lives, but Amara felt a quiet shift within herself. The Cherry Blossom Festival had left a lingering warmth, a reassurance that Jinwoo's presence was more than professional. Yet, navigating a foreign culture was still a challenge, and sometimes, misunderstandings threatened to overshadow their growing connection. During a project presentation, Amara struggled with a minor miscommunication. She had intended to phrase a point delicately, but a coworker's abrupt reaction made her explanation sound awkward. The room grew tense and Amara felt her confidence falter. She opened her mouth to clarify, but Jinwoo's calm voice intervened. "Let me rephrase that," he said, his tone firm yet kind. He carefully explained her point, highlighting the thought and effort behind it. The colleagues nodded, understanding immediately. Amara's shoulders relaxed, gratitude swelling inside her. Later, when the office quieted, Jinwoo approached her desk. "You handled that well," he said softly, his eyes meeting hers. "It's easy to misinterpret someone unfamiliar with the culture. You just need a little support sometimes." Amara smiled, feeling both reassured and understood. "Thank you for noticing," she said, her voice lighter than it had been all day. "It means a lot." They shared stories during lunch about family traditions and childhood experiences, finding humor in differences and common ground in dreams. Jinwoo talked about his parents' insistence on diligence and honor, while Amara shared tales of her extended family back home, emphasizing resilience and creativity. She realized they were slowly building a bridge, one made of understanding, patience, and small acts of care. Later, as they prepared to leave, a light drizzle began outside. Jinwoo handed her his umbrella, his fingers brushing hers briefly. Without thinking, she smiled and he offered a quiet, reassuring hug. It wasn't long and it wasn't intimate in a romantic way, but it was enough to convey protection, trust, and mutual care. Amara felt grounded in that small gesture, realizing that these moments of closeness were forming a bond neither of them could ignore. Walking home through the soft rain, Amara reflected on their journey. Each misunderstanding, each supportive gesture, and each shared laugh had brought them closer. She realized that their connection wasn't just about attraction, it was about trust, empathy, and the quiet ways two people could support each other in a world that sometimes felt overwhelming. And somewhere in that realization, Amara knew their story was only beginning. The office had grown quieter as spring deepened, and with it, the rhythm of Amara and Jinwoo's days had settled into a comfortable routine. Yet, beneath that calm, both carried feelings they hadn't yet spoken aloud. Each glance, each subtle touch, carried unspoken questions. What did this mean, and was it mutual? One evening the office was nearly empty. Amara stayed behind, finishing a report, and Jinwoo lingered nearby, reviewing documents at his own desk. The soft hum of the city outside and the dim glow of desk lamps created a private world, away from colleagues, away from rumors. Amara glanced up from her screen and caught his eyes. For a moment neither spoke. There was a weight in the silence, a tension that was tender rather than harsh. Jinwoo walked slowly toward her, stopping just short of her chair. "Amara," he began, his voice low, steady, almost hesitant. I need to tell you something." Her heart skipped. She set down her pen, meeting his gaze, sensing the seriousness in his tone. "What is it?" she asked softly, her voice barely above a whisper. He took a deep breath. "I felt something for you for a while now, and I can't keep it to myself any longer. I care for you more than I should, more than I expected." His eyes searched hers for a sign, for understanding, for permission to speak the truth. Amara felt a rush of emotions: relief, anticipation, joy. "Jinwoo, I feel the same," she admitted, trembling slightly. "I felt it too, and I didn't know how to say it." For a heartbeat, the world around them seemed to pause. Slowly, almost reverently, Jinwoo stepped closer and embraced her. The hug was long, protective, and filled with all the things words couldn't convey: care, trust, and the quiet confirmation of mutual feelings. It was intimate, yet chaste, an expression of love without urgency or expectation. As they pulled back, Jinwoo gently kissed her forehead, a soft, tender gesture that spoke of commitment and respect. Amara's eyes shone, a smile tugging at her lips. In that moment, the office lights, the distant city sounds, and the weeks of tension, laughter, and small gestures coalesced into something undeniable. Their hearts were aligned. Walking together toward the exit, side by side, hands brushing, both understood that this was no fleeting spark. This was the beginning of something lasting, built on patience, trust, and the small, quiet ways two people could care for each other. Beneath the soft glow of the evening city, they felt a new chapter of their lives opening, together. Months had passed since that quiet evening in the office when words had finally matched feelings. Amara had grown into her role, her confidence shining brighter with every project, every successful presentation. Jinwoo remained a steady presence, colleague, mentor, and now something far more personal. Their relationship had blossomed gently, without rushing, allowing trust and understanding to deepen. On a warm spring afternoon, the cherry blossoms returned to the city streets. Jinwoo suggested they revisit the festival, this time as a couple, openly and without hesitation. Amara felt her heart flutter at the thought. No misunderstandings, no whispered rumors, just the joy of being together. The festival was alive with the same laughter and colors as months ago, but now it felt different. The connection between them was no longer tentative, it was certain. They wandered through the paths hand in hand, exchanging stories and laughter, teasing each other about small quirks discovered over shared lunches and quiet office moments. Stopping at the same bridge where they had first confessed, Jinwoo turned to her. "You've changed so much since that first week," he said, his eyes soft but steady. "I've watched you grow, and I've been proud every step of the way." Amara smiled, squeezing his hand. "I've had the best guide," she replied. "Someone who believed in me even when I doubted myself." The city around them seemed to fade as they embraced beneath the falling petals. It was more than a hug. This was a celebration of everything they had navigated together. Challenges, misunderstandings, cultural bridges, and unspoken feelings. When they pulled back slightly, Jinwoo rested his forehead gently against hers. "Amara, I want to keep building this life with you. No shortcuts, no hesitations. Just us." "I want that too," she whispered, eyes glistening with emotion. "Forever." As the petals swirled around them, they walked away hand in hand, ready to face the world together. The office, the city, even the challenges that once felt so daunting now seemed smaller, manageable, and even brighter because they had each other. And in that quiet, shared certainty, Amara realized that love was not always loud or dramatic. It could be patient, tender, and steadfast. It could begin with a simple hug, grow through small gestures, and flourish into a forever built on trust and understanding.